for him, she couldn't take his tests. And Donald worried that his grade point average, which put him far from the top of the class, would scuttle his efforts to get accepted. To hedge his bets, he enlisted Joe Shapiro, a smart kid with a reputation for being a good test taker, to take his SATs for him.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I was a good student.
Trump is just different from other people. Other people can lie and cheat, and perhaps they have reasons which we all try to understand in our kind of work. But Donald Trump is a true psychopath. He's, in common language, he's evil. That's not name calling, that's accurate. That's to emphasize that he is simply different from other human beings. So that's what I really took away from the book. I think she's right when she says that narcissism goes only so far. That's right.
In Mary Trump's new book, she accuses him of being a cheater as far back as high school. Quote, aware of the Wharton School's reputation, Donald Trump set his sights on the University of Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, even though his sister Marianne had been doing his homework for him, she couldn't take his tests. And Donald worried that his grade point average, which put him far from the top of the class, would scuttle his efforts to get accepted. To hedge his bets, he enlisted Joe Shapiro, a smart kid with a reputation for being a good test taker, to take his SATs for him.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I was a good student. I always hear about the elite. You know, the elite, they're elite. I went to better schools than they did. I was a better student than they were. I was first in my class at the Wharton School of Finance. They say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. The elite. They're more elite than me. I have better everything than they have, including this.
Now, it should be noted that the White House is vehemently denying that the president paid somebody to take his SATs. It should also be noted that the president has gone to great lengths to make sure that his transcripts and all of the records from his schooling have been all kept secret.
Mary Trump also portrays her uncle as a traumatized rich kid with daddy issues, calling him a clinical narcissist. His personality served his father's purpose. That's what sociopaths do. They co-opt others and use them toward their own ends, ruthlessly and efficiently, with no tolerance or dissent for dissent or resistance. By limiting Donald's access to his own feelings and rendering many of them unacceptable, Fred perverted his son's perception of the world and damaged his ability to live in it. I mean, he was the thing. How would somebody like Donald Trump, and I know it was partly through the book that he wrote with you, trick so many people into believing that he was a good businessman when he was so bad at business?
It's back to psychopathy or sociopathy. They are really interchangeable, Joy. So essentially the same diagnosis. And a sociopath has no conscience and has no empathy. That's Trump. And as a consequence, he could say anything and do anything. His psychopathy made it possible for him to tell a story over and over again that wasn't true without any guilt or shame until essentially it's like Humpty Dumpty. He often acknowledged to me that his father was rough and tough and abusive and difficult. He wouldn't have used the word abusive because he wouldn't have been comfortable saying that, but it was the impression that I certainly took away.
Since when has a presidential sibling had to resign? The president and his family running this reporting from the New York Times is also, in part, how Mary Trump, the author of this new book, learned that the settlement she and her brother agreed to concerning Trump's father's estate, that's how she learned that the settlement that she and her brother agreed to with regard to that estate undervalued that estate by hundreds of millions of dollars, thereby, she says, cheating her and her brother out of millions of dollars of their share of it. She also says that fraud, that deliberate undervaluing of the father's estate, is itself a fraud. That means that she doesn't have to abide by the confidentiality agreement she signed as part of that settlement.